So I recently found out that apparently I want to be Roman Atwood Jr. I'm already a helicopter pilot. Apparently I bought the exact same truck that he has. Now, I'm too much of an ass to have a beautiful family, but there is one thing that I can do, and that's spend stupid amounts of money on toys. And I thought, okay, I finally got him. I know he has the P1 Ultimate, but I've got the 6 Degrees of Freedom Qubit Ultimate $90,000 helicopter simulator. I win, right? Wrong, because he has his own color, Atwood purple. I don't have shit. As we did a factory tour, Kathy and Chandler were able to show us the different options that we have from the entry-level P2 models all the way up through the P1 Ultimate and the 6 Degrees of Freedom models. And they did a great job of explaining what each option has to offer.
We have about 6 different racing options, and you can add flight to 3 of them. And then we have 2 specifically flight systems.
There's a P2 is the base entry level, okay. P1, and then the P1 Ultimate.
And with those tiers comes a pretty vast range of prices. Now, when we say entry level, we're still talking about $15,000 to get in the door. So it's entry level, but it's professional entry level.
So this is a P2, Hunter's been working on it. And so this is one of the Oasis Sims from Texas, but the P2 system is our smallest in footprint. So this is just gonna kind of give you a gauge on what your options are. It's a 5x5. With every jump in tier, there's a jump in price point, footprint, and power. So you're going to get a jump in power to the PC, size of the monitors, torque, force feedback in the wheel. A couple things that stay the same would be like motion. We use D-Box motion on all of our systems. They're amazing. They're FAA certified. We've loved to see the results they've been able to give us. But yeah, there's a couple tweaks, and then some people like to do like hybrid even amongst the tiers. And so if they're like, I really like this, but I'm okay with this footprint, but I want more power, and so we're able to work with them there.
This one starts roughly around 14, 15 grand, and then you can build it up to this sim here, which has the D-Box 1.5 inch, which is, for racing, it's all you need. Of course, you could go more, right?
And that's still a P2?
This is a P2 still, it's just with the motion. This is the P1 RS. It's really for the Porsche GT guys, GT3 RS, GT3 guys that want to track their cars, and they'll use it as a true training tool. So you've got all officially licensed one-to-one Porsche peripherals. So this is the RSR replica wheel, RSR or 992 dash, RSR button box. So we get a lot of cup car guys that, you know, they're using a lot of this shit in real life, and so they want a sim version of this. So this has the 45 still, but it's these are only offered in custom powder-coated, officially licensed Porsche colors, so Miami blue or signal green, et cetera, et cetera.
It looks really good.
Yeah, it's a good looking rig.
It brings out, it just makes it slightly different.
Yeah.
It looks...
What's weird is that 70% of all the P1 RSs we sell are Miami blue, which there wasn't that many in real life, but I think people just like the color. It's a hot color, you know. Right here, P1 Ultimate. This used to be the top dog. It is the Ultimate for a reason. D-Box 5th gen, obviously the Recaro seat, 55s, beefed up gaming PCs, so 64 gigs of RAM, DDR5, of course, active pedal standard, shifter. It's got the flight controls as well. So for instance, someone's 3-pedaling when you use the shifter, you can pull the joystick off so it's not getting in your way. So we thought it out well enough that people don't have to make really any physical changes other than maybe pulling the joystick off to switch from racing to flight. This will be slightly above the P1 Ultimate in pricing. This will probably be in the 60 to 70 range. This is 4 DOF, 6 inches of travel. This is amazing for driving. It is like the perfect rig. It's probably my favorite rig here because you've got just a perfect yaw feeling. Like if you clutch kick and you're drifting, like you can feel it kick out smooth and it snaps back quick. It feels really good. We get a lot of, like, I wouldn't say flack, but there's a lot of people that see our sim racing products. Like take this for instance, this is a almost $60,000 rig. And they're like, oh, you know, you have all these expensive monitors, just do VR, VR, VR. But there's a lot of downside to VR in a sim racing environment because you don't realize how much peripheral vision you use. And VR headsets are pretty limited by their field of view. However, in helicopters, you're not going, you know, 180 miles an hour into a turn where you have to brake to 60, right? So you don't need the peripheral as much, whereas you need the actual freedom to look where you're going. And so you'll see that. So we'll probably start you, Kathy, I'll have you get them set up on iRacing. I'll go get the VR, just cook it, I'll get on the flight just to make sure it's ready. And then you're gonna notice a lot of difference. Obviously you're comparing racing to flight, but I want you to at least notice the experience, like the visual experience and immersion from the triple setup in a racing environment to the VR setup in a flight environment. It'll be interesting to, hear your feedback as a pilot, because you could fly with the screens, but it's not as one-to-one. Like in real life, if you're landing or looking for a spot, you're gonna look down, right? You can't do that as much on the screen. So there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down in any sim environment, just with screens and all that stuff, but we've got it pretty dialed in.
Well, the sim load, so you'll get on the left side pretty traditionally. It's easier that way, especially when you have the e-brake and the shifter on the right. And then you'll notice there's an adjustable bar just directly in the center of the seat below. If you need to be closer or further away from the pedals, we can do that. It'll be under your seat.
Oh, it's just like a normal.
Yeah.
Let me see.
But yeah, so you got your clutch, brake, throttle, so you'll want to do some two-footing there and use your left foot for the brake. You won't need the throttle. So you'll shift over. There you go. So whenever you're ready, you'll go ahead and give it some gas. You'll see your tachometer here and here. So to avoid short shifting, you'll just go ahead and wait for it to fill up with all of the lights so you can get the full experience there. So go for it. Go ahead and let off the gas, downshift, brake. Oh!
I'm a better pilot.
Right.
I don't think I was paying attention to
The drive
the
line.
track that much. All right, let's do a little bit better. While I was taking the sim Porsche for a couple hot laps, Chandler set up the virtual reality headset, which, as far as helicopters go, is a pretty freaking immersive experience. But if you got a weak stomach, which I don't typically, well, it's not so great. I can't deal with a VR headset because I throw up. That gave me pretty bad motion sickness, and I don't get seasick or motion sickness, knock on wood. But with the 55-inch curved screens, I think you still get a pretty good picture as far as reality. This is way better.
Yeah. It is a lot more relaxing too.
I mean, like, you still get the sense of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And I mean,
like I can zoom out a little bit. You can get it dialed in.
yeah.
Tell me what you want. Zoomed in, zoomed out.
Right there's good.
Okay.
There's a couple things I noticed on the controls that luckily Chandler was able to tweak in pretty much real time. Number one, the cyclic. There was a lot of feedback on the cyclic, and in my experience flying H125s and Robinsons, there's almost no feedback on the cyclic. I mean, I fly with 3 fingers. So that was a little bit difficult to get used to. And the second thing was there was a lot of collective pull before we actually noticed power on the screen. But with a couple tweaks, Chandler was able to work that out to where it felt pretty freaking realistic. So my initial thoughts after trying the P1 Ultimate, fantastic for race simulators. But when we got to the helicopter part, not so much. It didn't have the feel that I really expected out of a pretty expensive simulator. Now that's where we get into the 6 degrees of freedom model. In 3 degrees of freedom, as in the P1 Ultimate, there are 3 degrees. Now a degree of freedom means an independent ability to move. For those of you who have been living under a rock, I'm gonna explain what the 6 degrees of freedom are. The first degree of freedom, pitch, like this. Roll, like this.
Of course, next is yaw, which is when you're just moving your pup face back and forth like this.
Surge, like this.
And then sway, which is side to side. And then heave, which is like, there's a squirrel, I'm gonna get it.
With the 6 degrees of freedom model, I really felt like it was as close as we could get to a real life helicopter, but I'd give it about a 90%. And there were a couple things that just didn't feel right, and I'm hoping over the next several months we'll be able to tweak the controls and get them to feel exactly like a helicopter. Of course you can go fly your helicopter, but can you do that at 3:30 in the morning after a couple beers? No. These are not a replacement. These are a supplement. These are things that allow you to take your hobby to the next level, to get those extra hours in the driver's seat or in the cockpit. For example, an H-125 helicopter, $2,800 an hour to actually fly. But once you've paid for your simulator, about $0 an hour. In my opinion, it's totally worth it for the most realistic in-flight simulator experience. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.
And always remember Rudolph's 4 principles for success. Like, subscribe, stay in school, and tell your parents to stop being cheap little and make sure they buy you a P1 Ultimate Race Simulator from Podium 1. Yeah!